have, and we're honestly within the next month or two, like we're going to have a new team. And like because we started off such like with doing team meetings weekly, even with having such a small teams, we made the mistakes that were needed before our big team came in, which I think is super, super important. Um, and, other things that I've been consistent with, doing weekly interviews. And, that way we have a great candidate pool of people that we could talk to, which is a hire, which I think is very, very important. But, here's just a couple of the reasons why that it's super, super important for you to be consistent. Be consistent on making weekly phone calls. Be consistent on following up with clients. Be consistent on, just having a showing up daily, which I think is super, super important. So, number one is to build a momentum. One reason why it's very important that you show up daily and consistently doing certain actions is because you're going to build momentum. That way, you never have a slow time. If you're consistently reaching out to old clients, consistently reaching out to referrals, consistent reaching out, to cold leads, you'll never have an issue with having a business that's very slow or a slow time, which I think is very, very important. And your keeping your momentum going is going to assist you with making sure that you can build a successful business, because you're always consistently doing those actions to get you to the next goal, which I think is super, super important. Number two, it does establish credibility. If you stay consistent with reaching out to clients, if you stay consistent with doing the things in your business, having checklists, marking those checklists off, people are going to know that you're a professional and be willing to help you when it comes to your business, which I think is super, super important. As a business owner, like it's very important that we show up as, that we're consistently showing up, when it comes to either our customer base or employees. Like if we show that we're a leader or we're not a leader and we're not someone that's consistently showing up, why would our team follow us or respect us? Which I think at the end of the day is the most important thing. Um, And then also being consistent, just doing all those things that no one wants to talk about is going to build great habits, which I think is very important. If you're consistently getting up every morning, consistently reading a book. I do have two young children. My daughter is 1 year old and my son is 4. And so I personally get up an hour early before my children get up. And because I do that, it provides me enough time to do my affirmations in the morning. It provides me enough time to read. It provides me enough time to do what I need to do before they get up. And I, shower before they wake up. And then I'm waking my son up for school. And usually my daughter gets up around the same time, which I think is very, very important. And then another reason why it's very important that you stay consistent is it helps you stay focused. I know when I first got started becoming an entrepreneur, like I felt like I was all over the place. And one of the things, guys, that has helped me stay consistent, I know my handwriting sucks, is I have to-do list. I have one list here that says important, and I have another list here that says not important or not urgent. And so the things that I'm currently working on my list are things that are important. And if I finish what's important, then I can move on to what's not urgent. Uh, That way, I do this weekly. I build this out. As you can see, it says week of October 30th to November 3rd. And so when I build this out, I work a lot of times, maybe I didn't finish my list from last week. And so I take whatever that was left over from last week and I put it on to the next week. And then I add whatever else is necessary. Or if something pops up, I'm either going to say, okay, this is super urgent or it's not very urgent, which I think is very, very important. Also, I put my interviews here as well. I have 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. I do weekly interviews. I have 2 time slots that you could choose from, which is group interviews. And so that has allowed me to, consistently be hiring as well as consistently having a candidate pool of applicants that we can pull at any time if needed, which I think is very, very important. And that's what helped me to keep, develop those good habits, making sure that I'm completing, like, what's the point of listening to audios or reading new books if I don't take what they are telling me to do and put into action? So here I have, I read a book And I've really so every year I read E-Myth. That's a book that I read, and I finished or in the process of rereading the book. And one of the the things that I decided that we're going to redo is redo our business structure, but that's going to take us some time. So I'm in the process of doing that, but that's something that's not super urgent because there's nothing that's in the way that I have to do that right now. But there are things that are important that I focus on that I might, like each week, one of the consistent things that I do is called Dream 100. And so Dream 100 is pretty much you're pretty much like, talking to that cold prospect, which end up not being cold prospect each week. So in one week, you'll be calling them on the phone. And the second week, you'll be sending them an email. And the third week, you'll be dropping them off a gift. And you do that for 12 weeks. And then by the time the relationship is done, I've noticed either, you possibly have a lead, you possibly have somebody that they possibly refer you to. And for that right now, Dream 100, I'm currently focused on reaching out to general contractors. So, like there's a lot of different roles that I play within the business right now. I'm looking to hire a virtual assistant, which I'm super excited to do to take some things off of my plate. But, being consistent helps you develop those great habits, helps you stay focused because with having this document right here that I work off of, I'm able to stay focused, which I think is super, super important. And then also being consistent, showing up daily, showing that, you are, this is the way we feed our family. It increases your chances of success. Consistently increases your chances of success when you show up every day. Um, a lot of times people just quit too soon. One of the things that I was like doing so many different things. I was working in our construction business. I was a travel agent, a tax advisor, doing all types of different things. And so kind of what I did was I sat down and was like, hey, like I have to like really get focused and decide what is it that I want. And when I did that, I was like, okay, like it's important that I decide. I kind of looked at where we made the most money at. And so our construction business is currently what's paying the bills. So I was like, okay, I got to stay consistent within our construction business, build that to a certain level, and then start my next venture. And so because of that, now I'm able to spend the time that's necessary on one thing, which I think is super, super important. And then I can also, what has helped me not put myself so thin is that I, work consistently Monday through Friday. I treat it like a job, 8 a.m. to 5 or 3. Honestly, it's kind of a little earlier because my son gets out of school at 2. So from like 8 to like 1:30, like I am focused in the business. And then, I will get some work done when I get back home from picking up my son. And then by 3, 4 o'clock, that time is spent with my children. But when I was doing more than one thing, I was like, I would work with our construction business and then I would be done with working with our construction business and move on to my travel agent stuff or my tax stuff. Like I was never ever really off. So for that reason, like I was like, okay, I have to choose one and stick with it. And that could be very difficult because it's like, oh, I want this status or I want this, I want that. I don't want to be like I think it's very important that you decide on one and you build that up, reach those goals, and then move on to your next. And so that's one thing I really had to decide within the last 2 months is kind of put everything else on the side and just focus on one thing until it gets to a certain level and we put the right people in place. Then I can move on to the next business or venture or in that way as well when I start my next business, I'm actually thinking about consulting. But when I do that, like I'll have the experiences necessary to take that business to the next level, plus the capital. And having the right capital, having the right business model in place, and the experience is going to help me get a lot further, a lot quicker, which I think is super, super important because, yeah, like it's difficult, like just starting a business and not having the experience that's necessary and not having the capital to be able to hire the right people to put in place. And so I made all the wrong, mistakes with trying to start another business. And so now my focus is to learn everything I can and then move on to the next business, which I think is very, very important. And that way I can, I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I'm not putting myself too thin, trying to be a mom, trying to be a business owner to a couple businesses, being self-employed pretty much. Now I could have my focus on one thing and be consistent in that one thing, and also being a mom, which is super, super important to me. Because yeah, like I don't want to be placed into 100 directions and not spending the necessary time with my children, which is the most important thing in my life. And of course, my husband, Kevin, very important that I have a relationship with him. So that's one reason why I decided just to focus on one thing. Um, and so, in conclusion, taking consistent actions in your life, in your business, is going to help you, have success faster. It's going to help you have an idea where you're going. Because when you're working, you're not consistent. You start one thing and you start another thing, like you're all over the place. So for that reason, like it's super important that you stay on the road and just keep doing those consistent things. A lot of times the boring things that we don't want to talk about, but those are the boring things that are going to help you get to where you want to go. So for that reason, I think it's super, super important that we keep showing up daily and keep showing up for our team, them seeing that we're leaders, them seeing that we're people that they want to follow, is going to help us build the momentum, help us establish credibility, help us stay focused, as well as increase our chances of success, which I think is super, super, super important. So make sure you make that commitment to yourself of showing up daily, and take consistent actions towards your goals will help you get there a whole lot quicker. If you guys have any questions on the topic that I talked about today, put it in the comments, subscribe to the channel. I'm just as I grow, I'm just going to share with you guys things that we're currently experiencing, and just kind of see where this channel goes. But I'm super excited about our lives, and we have some big stuff that we're currently working on. Talk to you guys soon.